in a lot of ways, it might not even matter the why. Not yet. Because I think the instant you say any shop, restaurant, project, whatever closes down, stops doing business, gives up, what is the first thing you immediately blame? Immediately.
Crime.
Crime. And everything that falls under crime, right? Not just the people breaking in and stealing things, but the homeless people, the drug addicts that surround your business. If we're talking about any store or shop or restaurant in the downtown core in particular, we immediately go to crime. Sometimes that's not fair, right? Not every business in downtown Seattle closes because of that. It's very expensive to do business generally, even if you're not having to fix broken storefronts or replace stolen goods. It's just really expensive. But this isn't happening in a bubble. We do know that the shop or the location right across the street from Pike Place Market, that was due to safety concerns. They said so in their statement. They didn't exclusively claim it was because of that, but when you mention wanting to keep your staff safe, we can read between the lines there. In this case, there's a note on the door to a location at 5th and Pike Street saying our last day is September 30th, so 4 days from now. They don't give a reason why. It just says, we would like to thank you for being part of our store community. It has been a great pleasure to connect with you every day. That last line is a lie. It's like we resent having to connect with you each and every day with your silly orders that don't even make sense. Why are you asking for a drink with extra foam, but also half the extra foam? What does that even mean? You mean a quarter more of the foam? Is that what you want? I don't understand. More than a month ago, we heard about the First Avenue location by Pike Place. But also, a month ago, what did we also hear? A change in direction for Starbucks, right? New CEO. What's his name? Brian Niccol, former Chipotle CEO. He's taking over. And my guess is they're going to pivot maybe away from having as many stores because it's expensive to deal with when you've got union interests now popping up all over the place, and they're going to look at individual stores and say, this one's not doing as well as it should be. Let's close it. Why it's not doing well could, of course, be the crime crisis. Now, Como went and asked some random people on the streets to weigh in on this, and I want you to listen to what Susie says. Now, Susie's not an expert in any of this. She's just some random woman who happened to be there when the reporter who covered this, Paul Rivera, happened to be out. But I want you to listen to what she assumes is at least one of the problems.
And I think there's just a lot more competition now, and they're probably concentrating more on what they need to be doing. It seems like there's a lot more homeless and a lot more people that appear to be on drugs. And so I think that it puts the people at Starbucks at a little bit of a risk.
Now, I don't know if this woman was prompted into that, like, hey, what do you think is the reason behind the closure? Is it possibly because of the crime and homelessness and open-air drug use? But I'm willing to bet they simply asked her, why do you think it's closing? And that's where her mind went. It does not matter if it's true, if it is the perception from a brand perspective. And the brand of Seattle is that we've got a whole lot of problems. I saw an op-ed in the Times, I think it was yesterday, Danny Westneat, talking about how the city has swept a ton of encampments. And one of the pieces of good news that he was pointing to is that there hasn't been a tent set up anywhere in the downtown core for months, and that's a huge success. It's a success, I guess, but you do realize that the biggest problem with that area wasn't even necessarily the tents. At one point it was, but it has been mostly about the open air drug use and the fact that all of these people are high on fentanyl or meth, and they pose risks to themselves and others, and that has not gotten better. It's actually getting worse. I know the big news is they put up lights. They strung lights across 3rd and Pike and Pine. And I mean, it took them 3 years 3.5 years to do that. But apparently that's going to really make a difference. Instead of just making it really easy for you to spot a good location to get high in. Maybe it makes it a little bit easier for you to focus on how you're going to break into one of the businesses there. But that is the brand that we live in. And what you want to have happen whenever bad news like this occurs, and businesses that close is bad news for the economy. You don't want them, the first thing out of their mouth saying, oh, it's probably because of the crime crisis. That's not a good look. And it indicates it's probably not just her who holds that view. Now, sometimes you'll get reasons that are personal. Some guy who happens to own a food truck named Vandals was asked by the Como reporter why he thinks the Starbucks closed. And so what he decided to do was basically plug his own business.
A lot of people will come in there for a beverage, and then they'll walk by, and then they'll see my taco truck, and they'll be like, oh, like tacos sound good for lunch.
How that's related to the story, I don't know.
And that got me thinking tacos do sound good for lunch.
With coffee? Right? With crummy coffee?
I know, that was actually my original reaction.
It's kind of gross.
Yeah.
Who drinks a coffee and then says, ooh, I'd like a taco? What? No. Or you're getting like a Frappuccino for the people who don't really drink coffee. You're having a dessert and then you're all like, then I'll have something savory. It doesn't quite work. I think what he's meaning to say is that people aren't shopping for their food items, I guess, and that's what's killing them. They're still buying overpriced coffee drinks. So they were still going there. I'm familiar with this particular Starbucks. It never seemed, in fairness, to be super, high volume store, at least on weekends. I've not been there during the week, so I don't know. But also when you don't have as many people going downtown, you have fewer opportunities to sell those coffees. Although the taco sales seem to be high, I guess.